Welcome to this deep dive. Today we're looking at something, well, pretty fundamental. Our relationship with money and the hidden psychological forces shaping it.
Right, and we're drawing on ideas from Gestalt psychology to maybe shed some light on why it can feel so confusing sometimes.
Exactly. That feeling, even when things seem okay on paper, that nagging unease or, I don't know, suspicion about your own money. Why is that?
It's a great question. Gestalt thinking tells us perception isn't passive. We're not just cameras recording reality. Our minds are actively organizing everything into meaningful wholes.
Okay, so like building a picture.
Precisely. And maybe the same thing happens with our finances. We're building a picture, but it's shaped by things we're not consciously aware of.
Like that famous invisible gorilla experiment,
Yeah.
where you're focused on one thing and miss something obvious.
Exactly that analogy.
Yeah.
Could we be so focused on, say, the bills or this fear of scarcity that we literally don't see opportunities or resources right there?
That's a powerful idea. That our anxieties or past stuff create a kind of filter, affecting what we even perceive as financially real.
That's the core of it. The mind constructs a narrative around money, often based on anxiety, maybe guilt, past conditioning, and that narrative shapes what seems real.
So let's dig into that active perception idea more. How does the mind do that shaping in our financial world?
Well, it's about recognizing that our financial reality is more than just numbers. Think of the perceptual field. It includes everything, internal and external, related to money.
Everything, like feelings too.
Absolutely. Past experiences, emotions, core beliefs about security, wealth, they all form this backdrop, the ground against which we make choices.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, I think about everyday choices like should I get the cheaper coffee or the fancy latte?
Yes.
That small decision.
It seems tiny, but the internal debate can feel huge sometimes.
Exactly. And what's underneath? Is it guilt? Like, should I be spending this? Or maybe a feeling of deservingness? Hey, I earned this.
Those aren't just fleeting thoughts. They're
Yeah.
part of your perceptual field, actively nudging your choice. I think a lot of us feel that conflict, even over tiny amounts.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so you mentioned figure ground earlier. How does that apply specifically to money?
Right. Figure ground. It's key. In finance, the figure is usually what pops out at us. The price, the balance, a transaction.
Obvious thing.
The obvious thing. But the ground, that's the context. It's the unspoken fears, the beliefs, maybe unresolved stuff from the past, all simmering in the background.
So if someone, say, grew up with a lot of financial insecurity, that feeling might just always be there in the background, the ground.
Precisely. Even if they're doing fine now.
And it influences their choices.
Absolutely. A cluttered or emotionally heavy ground can really distort how you see the figure. That latte isn't just a coffee anymore.
Right.
If the ground is full of past scarcity fears, that latte can feel like a huge, risky thing, way bigger than the actual cost.
Wow, okay. That really makes me rethink some of my own reactions. I've definitely had times where I just avoided looking at my bank account. Avoidance.
Yeah.
Like not seeing it makes the worry go away. Or the opposite, obsessively tracking every single cent.
And it's worth asking, where do those behaviors come from? Is it rational planning, or is it driven by that complex emotional ground?
So avoidance might be trying to ignore the uncomfortable background noise.
Yes. And hypervigilance, maybe that's an attempt to control the ground that feels fundamentally unstable or scary.
So focusing intensely on the tiny details, the figures, could actually be a distraction from the bigger picture in the background.
It really can be. You get so caught up in tracking every pin, the figures, that you lose sight of the overall landscape, the patterns, the ground itself. And that can lead to decisions that feel off somehow, not aligned with what you really want long term.
You mentioned the wallet earlier as a symbolic space. That stuck with me. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, think beyond the physical. The wallet holds memories, maybe expectations, desires linked to money. That specific banknote might trigger a memory, good or bad.
Right. It's not just the face value. It's layered with personal meaning.
Exactly. The meaning of, say, $50 can change dramatically based on your history, your current mood. Money isn't neutral. Its presence or absence tells a story, a very personal one we're always writing.
And that ties into control, doesn't it? We hear so much about needing to control our money, but you suggested there's a paradox there.
Yes, it's an interesting paradox. The more rigidly we try to pin money down, treat it as this fixed thing we can completely master,
Yeah.
the more it can sometimes feel like it's slipping through our fingers, like trying to hold water too tightly.
That feels incredibly true. I've definitely felt that money just vanishing unexpectedly, or sometimes weirdly showing up when I wasn't actively trying so hard.
Right. So it makes you wonder, should the focus be solely on controlling the flow, or more on understanding our own perception, the internal stuff that shapes how we interact with it?
You've used the word field a few times. Let's explore that concept a bit more deeply regarding money.
The field, yeah. Think of it as this whole dynamic ecosystem influencing our money relationship. It's not just our thoughts and feelings.
So what else is in there?
Our upbringing, the messages we got about money as kids, cultural norms, a society's values around wealth, past wins and losses, our current emotional state.
Yeah.
It's all in the mix.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is. And all these elements interact, creating tensions. Especially, that classic tension between feeling there's abundance versus feeling there's scarcity.
I can really see the power of those early messages. That phrase, money doesn't grow on trees, I heard that constantly. And it definitely installed this deep sense of limitation, like a default scarcity setting, even when objectively things are okay.
Exactly. Those early imprints get lodged in the field, often working below conscious awareness. But here's the hopeful part.
Yeah.
The field isn't fixed. It's a living system. You can influence it. By intentionally shifting your focus, say, moving from fear to curiosity about your finances, the whole field can start to reconfigure.
How does that work?
It connects to a principle called isomorphism. Basically, changes in one part ripple through the whole system. If you start feeling more emotionally secure about money, that shift can actually spark more confident financial actions.
That's really encouraging. It means old patterns aren't set in stone. I think I've seen that in my own life sometimes. Just changing my perspective seemed to open up new possibilities, even financial ones.
Yes, exactly. Now let's bring in another Gestalt idea. Unfinished business. How does that show up financially?
Unfinished business. Things like old debts, or maybe arguments about money you never resolved, stuff left hanging.
Precisely. These open gestalts, incomplete patterns in the field demand attention, even subconsciously. They create tension. Think about those financial tasks you always put off.
Oh yeah, reviewing investments, sorting out old paperwork.
Yeah.
That pile that never shrinks.
We all have them. And it's worth looking at why we avoid them. Often, it's not just laziness. It might be tied to deeper stuff, guilt about past mistakes, maybe shame about where things are now.
So avoiding the task is avoiding the feeling.
It can be. You dodge the immediate discomfort, but that unfinished business keeps humming in the background, creating pressure.
Okay, so how do we deal with this? How do we get closure financially?
Well, closure doesn't always mean fixing everything instantly. It's more about bringing those unresolved things into awareness, acknowledging them, integrating them.
So not just ignoring them anymore.
Right, like instead of just feeling bad about overspending in the past, maybe reflect on why it happened. What emotional need was driving it? Understanding the why can lessen the emotional charge.
So it's about getting to the root cause, the motivation, not just the action itself. That makes sense. If I see my spending was linked to stress, maybe I can find other ways to handle that stress.
Exactly. And that understanding frees you up. It reduces the grip those past events have on your present choices. Now let's talk about attention itself,
The spotlight of consciousness, you called it earlier. How does that work with money?
where we point that spotlight matters hugely. But it's not always a neutral beam. It gets guided by biases, habits, emotional triggers, stuff often outside our awareness. Think about financial tunnel vision.
Like focusing so hard on one thing, a short-term gain, maybe that you miss the bigger picture.
Spot on. The classic example is credit cards. The immediate buzz of buying something now can completely overshadow the long-term drag of debt and interest.
Been there.
Your attention narrows right down to the immediate desire, and the future consequences just fade out.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in the now and not weigh the future impact properly. So how do we widen that spotlight?
Through cultivating mindful awareness, intentionally broadening your attention, observing your thoughts and feelings about money without judging them.
So pausing before reacting.
Exactly. Instead of automatically jumping when a financial stressor hits or when you feel an urge to spend, pause. Ask, what's really driving this? Is it a genuine need or fear or something else?
Creating that space for reflection, getting underneath the impulse.
Yes. And when you broaden your attention like that, you start seeing money differently, not just as numbers, but as a tool to build a life that actually aligns with your values, your aspirations. It connects the small decisions to the big picture.
You also mentioned insight, those aha moments. How do they fit in financially?
Insight is that flash of clarity. Suddenly, pieces connect in a new way. A profound realization hits. And in finance, these can be game changers.
How might that happen?
It could be anything. A conversation, reading something, a random thought. Suddenly, a long-held belief about money just crumbles. Maybe someone always thought investing was too risky, just for rich people.
Right, maybe based on something they heard growing up.
Exactly. Then maybe they stumble across an explanation of diversification or long-term growth, and it just clicks. That insight shatters the old belief and opens up totally new possibilities they'd never even considered before.
That's huge. That moment, a self-imposed limit just dissolves. And that sounds like it leads towards wholeness. You mentioned that too.
Yes, wholeness. In Gestalt terms, it's about integrating all parts of our experience, even the messy, contradictory bits. With money, it means acknowledging the whole spectrum. The fears, the desires, the anxieties, the hopes, not trying to suppress the bad parts.
So it's not about reaching some perfect, calm financial state with no worries.
Not at all. Money's complex. It touches everything: security, relationships, values. Real financial well-being comes from embracing that complexity, accepting the mix of good and bad feelings, aiming for integration, not pretending difficulties don't exist. Money reflects our deepest hopes and our deepest fears.
Okay, let's circle back to that control paradox. Trying too hard sometimes backfires. How does that work internally?
It's interesting. It's like money can sometimes mirror our inner state. If we approach it with rigid control, needing absolute certainty,
Yeah.
it can almost seem to resist that tight grip, become more elusive. It responds in a way to our underlying beliefs if you're operating from a deep fear of loss.
You might actually cause loss.
That fear itself can lead to reactive, fearful decisions that, ironically, undermine your security, like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Wow.
So maybe real financial freedom involves letting go of that need for absolute control,
Yeah.
trusting the dynamic nature of finance, even its unpredictability.
But that doesn't mean being irresponsible, right?
Not at all.
Okay.
It's not about abandoning ship. It's shifting from rigid control to, let's say, mindful engagement, adapting, finding a sense of order within the uncertainty, trusting your ability to navigate it.
Finding order within the chaos. Okay. Now you touched on something intriguing. The flip side of scarcity. The shadow side of abundance.
Right. We talk so much about lacking money, but what about the psychological effects of having it, or the potential for having it?
It's not something we discuss much. What does that shadow look like?
It often shows up as guilt, feeling you don't deserve abundance, even if you earned it.
Guilt,
Yeah.
even for success.
Yes. And that guilt can quietly sabotage you, lead to self-destructive money habits, or just an inability to enjoy what you have. It can even masquerade as virtue extreme self-denial, or maybe reckless generosity that avoids truly owning your own comfort.
That's fascinating. I can imagine feeling uneasy if you have more than people around you, or if success clashes with those old money is hard messages.
Exactly. And breaking free from that guilt requires self-compassion. Consciously challenging those beliefs that say wealth is bad or that you have to struggle to be good, acknowledging your worthiness.
Confronting those hidden parts that feel undeserving, that sounds like deep work, but potentially very rewarding.
It is. And it can shift your whole perspective on finance, which leads to another idea. Thinking of finance as an ongoing game.
An ongoing game, how so?
It moves away from the finite game idea. Clear winners, losers,
Yeah.
an endpoint like accumulating X amount. Instead, it sees finance as a continuous process.
A process of what?
Creation, contribution, learning. The focus shifts. It's less about how much is enough and more about what impact do I want to make? How can my resources enrich life, mine, and others?
That's a massive reframe, from just numbers to purpose and meaning.
Precisely. And playing this ongoing game means letting go of the illusion that endless accumulation brings ultimate security. It suggests real security comes more from engaging fully now, embodying abundance now, regardless of the bank balance.
So being present in your financial life, not just chasing some future number that might never feel like enough anyway.
You got it. Recognizing that this relationship with money isn't a final destination, it's a journey. Self-discovery, integration, awareness, constantly unfolding. Wholeness is a process, not a static state.
This has been incredibly insightful. It really highlights how connected our money lives are to our inner world, our perceptions, all those unseen forces.
Indeed. And remember, every insight often just leads to more questions, invites deeper exploration. It's ongoing.
It makes you think true wealth isn't just what you have, but who you become on that financial journey.
Well said. So maybe a final thought to leave folks with. What happens if you stop seeing money as separate, out there, and start seeing it as integral to your life's path.
Hmm.
What unfolds when you align your financial choices, not just with needs or fears, but with your deeper values and purpose? What might your next step be in understanding your unique relationship with money?